What's up, ladies and gents? This is Casey Kid, coming at you with another Destiny video. Today it's Sunday and we are doing our question and answer session for the week. If you've got a question you would like to potentially see answered next week, go ahead and leave it in the comments section below. I'd love to see what you're curious about, whether it be Destiny or anything else. So if you enjoy this video, go ahead and smack that like button and subscribe to the channel. As far as gameplay, we're taking a look at some Crucible gameplay. This is actually me playing on a Defender Titan, pretty much for the first time in Crucible. I'm pretty bad with my bubble placement. In fact, one time I even completely forget that I'm actually on a Defender Titan. So it's going to be interesting, but I do have a pretty decent game overall. Let's take a look at our very first question. It actually comes from Mediocre, who accidentally put this question on the wrong video. He put it on a video 2 weeks ago, but he just put it up this week, so we're going to go ahead and answer it. Do you think it would be a good idea if Bungie added a trading system? So this is our title question because this is always a hot topic in Destiny. Should there be trading in Destiny? Right now, I'm going to say for Destiny Year 1, the answer would be no. You can't have a trading system in Destiny as it is right now, because as I've mentioned many other times, this is essentially a last-gen game. We're still limited by the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. There is no way they'd be able to get all of the mechanics into this game and still manage to fit it. I'm always amazed that they're able to do as much as they can right now. So the question to me actually lends more into, could this be something in Destiny 2? And maybe. I like what the Division is doing with trading. The Division said that they're going to have trading in their game, but for trading, it's not like you're going to be able to trade with anybody. It's going to be if you're in a group and something drops that you happen to get that another person in your group might want, you can trade with that person. They have to have been in your team at the time of the drop. I think that's really smart. That's really awesome. Because how often are you in a strike or a raid or a Crucible match and something drops and somebody's like, oh man, yeah, this is my 20th one I got. And you've got somebody else that's like, man, I don't have any, I'm dying for it. And they're like, man, I would give you one. But they don't, and they just dismantle it, and that is the end of it. And the reason why I mention this is because you really want to watch out for that paid currency, that paid drop currency, some type of extra system going offline where people are actually trying to buy weapons with real money. I don't like that. I don't think that's good for the game. I just don't like that in general. So I think something like this, like what the Division is saying that they're going to do, or make trading available within a clan. I think those are the only ways that I would really like to see trading happening, because it's bad enough that sometimes people charge and pay to get carried in raids or Trials of Osiris. You don't want people paying for weapons too. It's just, to me, if I'm making a game, that is something that I want to alleviate from my game. I don't want that to be an actual mechanic in my game, or a mechanic that evolves because of the way that my game is structured. Moving on to question number 2, we've got Celestial asking if I think the Mighta or the Doctrine need a slight nerf. So this is a little bit tricky because as we sit, the Doctrine and Mighta are strong in PvP, but in PvE they're just whatever, they're so-so. In fact, I think the Doctrine is probably better than the Mighta in PvE. But because of the way that the game is structured, anything you do in PvP is then reflected in PvE. So I'm really always leery about nerfing things because it always affects the PvE gameplay. And right now, it's a ton of fun running around in PvE with something like the Doctrine, just melting enemies. But obviously, this is much more suited to the PvP aspect. Obviously, the Mighta and the Doctrine are both very good. We just did a top 5 Trials of Osiris video, and these weapons definitely show up in it. So they're really strong. But whenever I look at them overall, it's not like they scream overpowered or anything. But they have some things that maybe you could tweak a little bit. The one thing you'd have to watch out for is making a blanket change to the weapon type. For instance, auto rifles. If you change the range on auto rifles, you would mess up all auto rifles. And not all auto rifles have any type of issue. So maybe with the Doctrine, you would potentially lower the magazine size. Maybe with the Mighta multi-tool, you would make it so that the damage fall off comes off a little bit faster so that you can't hit so far away from the map. I would just be really careful about touching those weapons because their card doesn't scream overpowered. It's just they're pretty good options. They're pretty good options for what they do. For the Doctrine, whenever you're in close, it shoots out a ton of bullets to help melt down the enemy. And for the Mighta, you're able to really get off some nice long-range kills with it. So those are the things that I might potentially look at on those guns. Though I'm not jumping up and down to get these things nerfed or anything like that, because I think there's always going to be a top tier gun, so if you happen to nerf these, something else is just going to jump up and take their place. I think the Thorn is something that just screams powerful, but these ones, not so much, even though they obviously are massive killing machines. Moving on to the next question, we actually have Dylan asking about what's overpowered. As far as the Warlock class, what would we build to be the most overpowered Warlock in PvP? So I think there are two different things from my personal opinion. In 3v3, it's Sunsingers. People love Sunsingers with the firebolt grenades and the double burn, so the Viking Funeral and Touch of Flame. Having those helps to really just knock down an opposing Guardian, not let them recover, and then jump in and be able to shoot them maybe a couple times with your Doctrine, maybe once with your Mighta, and just finish them off. That is really strong, especially in a 3v3 game match, where when one person goes down, you have a significant advantage. For 6v6s, I love my Stormcaller. I love the Stormcaller. Its super is so unbelievably deadly for getting down a ton of enemy Guardians in 6v6, because they're always all over the place. Whenever you're in control or clash and you're on a Stormcaller and you pop your super, you're going to be generating a lot of points for your team. And whenever you have Transcendence on for the Stormcaller, your super is going to last a really long time, meaning that you're going to be able to get all those kills. So Transcendence and Electrostatic Mind are typically what I put on for my Stormcaller. As far as gear, if you're on the Sunsinger, it's not bad to have the Voidfang Vestments on, because that means you will always be guaranteed to have your grenade up. Or if you're doing 3v3, you could always have the Light Beyond Nemesis for those quick revives, which are awesome. For the Stormcaller in 6v6, I like to run the Impossible Machines just to have Landfall all the time, because that is pretty good and nice to get some additional kills potentially. Next up, we have Ian Bird and Magpie asking something relatively similar about what I might like to see in the next Destiny. Because Destiny is going to be this 10-year game, 10-year franchise, 10-year series, which makes it a pretty good option for this channel, knowing that there's going to be content, assuming that we don't get a massive flop and the game just cancels. So as far as things that I personally really like, what I really like is I like extra characters. So I'd love to see either another character with another 3 full subclasses, or I'd like to see more subclasses on the characters that we already have. Those things are a lot of fun because I love changing things up in the game. People always ask what my main is in Destiny, and I'd probably say a Warlock, but I like playing on all different characters. It always depends on the mood that I'm in, as far as what character I play on, what subclass. So the more characters and more subclasses that are in the game, the better off I think it will be for me, because I have a lot more choices. So extra subclasses and potentially some more choices in the subclasses. You know, we do have choices in the subclass right now, and you have to make some tough decisions, but I'd like to see even more. So more variety in these characters. And I'd also like to see more weapons and armor, focus on more loot for the next game, especially exotic loot, and make that exotic loot really feel exotic. So you know how we're getting all these lulls in content between the DLCs and the patches and the mini events? I'd like to have so much loot that Bungie can kind of go in and release new gear maybe every month or so that there's always something for players to chase after. If they've got a big enough loot table where they can just kind of time release some of these different exotics all these different times and have people always constantly chasing those Ingrams maybe with your 3 of coins, I think that would be a lot of fun, and that would really help to keep people invested in the game, because they're always going to be searching for something that's awesome. And I stress the awesome part. That's why I say that these new exotic items really need to feel exotic. They can't just feel like they're just maybe on the same tier or maybe slightly better than a legendary. They need to feel awesome. And speaking of awesome, we have our final question from Cam Does COD asking about his idea for sword fights in Destiny. And of course, that sounds absolutely amazing. I don't think we'll be seeing it in Destiny 1, but I think what something like that goes to is if you're able to actually create custom matches. I know a lot of players are looking for custom matches, and something like this would be something that would be perfect for it. I mean, you could set a stipulation right away that, hey, you can only go into this custom match with a sword, legendary or exotic. It would be awesome to be running around and slicing up your fellow Guardians. Maybe we'll even have some new exotic and legendary swords. That would be really fun. So that is Q&A for this week. If you've got a question for next week, leave it in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smack that like button and subscribe to the channel. Check out these awesome videos. Good luck with your raids, your drops, your PvP, and I'll see you around in Destiny. Q&A. Success.